Welcome to the Private AI Lab, the podcast where we experiment, explore, and debate the future of AI behind the firewall. I'm your host, Johan, and every month I have a guest in the lab to break down real-world use cases, challenges, and innovations shaping private AI. In this episode, Maxime Colomès will join me to talk about the rising star of AI, the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, his experience with it, and how to get up and running with MCP yourself. Enjoy the episode. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. So, Maxime, welcome. And for the people who don't know you, who is Maxime Colomès? Do I pronounce your surname well?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Thanks a lot, Johan. I'm super excited as well. I'm pleased to join you amongst all the great people you invited. So really happy about that. And I have to admit something. I love the intro. I find it super epic. That's like a really nice theme with a bit of a Pokemon touch that I really like. So
there's
you have the
to be fairly honest, there's a really cool story behind this, but no one asked me yet. But so I was working, like, this is an AI podcast, right? So I wanted to create an AI focused or an AI created intro as well. So I was playing around with different tools and artist.ai or IO, but all of the things I created didn't really have that feeling, right? And one of our colleagues, Tim, used to be a professional DJ or for a long time. And I had a chat with him during lunch, and he mentioned, well, I might be able to help you. And but I can't say how or when but trust me. So yeah, sure. Here's some of the examples that I really like. And I don't know if you're a Star Wars nerd at all, but
I like Star Wars.
Yeah, so there's a lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon Jinn and the guy with the rat mask. Oh man, failing.
Darth Maul or another one?
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And the music behind it is a song called Duel of the Fates. And I love that song. So I sent it to him as well. And I didn't hear from him for a couple of days. And suddenly he texted me like, I have something really awesome. I can't tell you when it'll be ready, but it's going to be amazing.
And so he went cooking and then just delivered
No, it's even better. So because he's in the music scene, one of his friends is a producer for Tiesto, the world famous DJ.
Okay.
And he owed him something, or vice versa. So the song is actually produced by a producer that also produces music for Tiesto. And so he sent a couple of examples, and like the first time I heard it, I was struck. Like, oh man, this is it. This is the actual thing I had in mind. And he changed a couple of things to it, but and then I had someone else from Fiverr who also does the production of the show sometimes to create the video intro, and the whole thing combined is just it's amazing.
Yeah, solid, super solid. It's a pleasure to hear it every time. Well done. And great story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, who is Maxime?
Who is Maxime? The Frenchman in the Netherlands. I will. You had a guest with a French name. I will bring the French accent for our listeners. Maxime. So I'm working in IT. Obviously, I'm coming from the IT strategy world. platform engineering, and I slowly pivoted towards AI, building AI workloads by using those platform engineering skills to build nice products, combining everything. And I think I would say that I really like technology when it's well made, with purpose. And that explains as well that on my spare time, I run with incredible peers, an NGO in French that is called Waldiant, to promote sustainability. But it shows that I like to do things with meaning and not just do things to do things. So yeah, I think it would be a nice short intro.
Awesome. Well, what does a typical day for you look like?
Waking up early, going for a walk to freshen my mind because I'm really not a morning person first. No, then opening the laptop. So I will say that I have half of my time that is about platform engineering, enabling, for example, at the customer, I'm enabling other teams towards the cloud. And the other half of my time is to help the first half, and therefore with AI applications to basically make myself not working anymore. But yeah, leveraging AI, LLMs, MCP, which is going to be the theme of today, to provide good services, good solutions, good answers to developers that are obviously not having the good set of tools to make themselves productive.
Yeah, you mentioned MCP. That's, like you mentioned, the theme of the show. So the Model Context Protocol, and you've been pioneering MCP for, I would say, at least 9 months. Like that, it starts to become kind of the de facto standard when integrating backends into an AI solution. And I heard you mentioned MCP. I think, yeah, like I mentioned, probably roughly 9 months ago already, and
Yeah.
you implemented that at a customer already. So hence you being a guest at in the show. I mean, if there's someone with experience with a technology that's just little over a year old, yeah, it's definitely you. So before we dive into that, I do have another question around, AI and kind of an icebreaker. So what's the funniest AI fail you have seen happening?
Funniest. I will answer with two. The one that is not mine is like I love to see on Twitter X those kind of pictures or videos that are absolutely awful. You see the faces just destroyed, or those kind of pictures with the Pope in Balenciaga coat. I mean, sometimes you can feel like, wow, AI can really be bad for deep fakes or stuff like that. But if you have a bit of critical thinking and then you see the Pope in a Balenciaga coat,
Yeah.
then you know that you have a bit of margin before we get AI takes over.
Yeah,
That's one fail that I like. I would say another one is about AI app that I've been building. You start somewhere, right, with a POC, and I integrated with MCP. We will detail a bit more how it works later, but I added my credentials toward the service, Atlassian. So it uses my account to do the POC, to show to stakeholders, okay, that works. And I didn't remove that or change to a service account or whatever. We go towards test phase, people use it, enjoy it, and start to create Jira tickets. So I end up having tons of Jira tickets on my name, doing nothing. My product owner probably thinking that I'm absolutely not working at all because they all stay in the backlog. And so don't forget to change your credentials when you give too much power to an AI.
Oh man, well, thanks for sharing. Definitely, yeah, I can fully like relate and understand that. Like, yeah, for a POC or just proof of value, that's definitely the way to go. But oh man, yeah, great story. Yeah, so let's dive into it. Experiment number 2. Um, we're gonna dive into the model context protocol, and for the listeners who are fairly new to it or maybe entirely new, what is it?
Yeah. first, if you meet experts of MCP, I think that doesn't exist because it went off a year ago. So expertise is a big word. Basically, MCP, you sometimes hear on internet that's the USB-C of AI, and I think that's really true. That really explains the thing. You can connect all kind of AI to all kind of tool or source of data or whatever. That's the best explanation for executive or whatever else. And that really resumes the whole thing. It's a big revolution in terms of AI, but behind the scene, there is nothing really that smart. It's just a standard. It's a protocol to say, we interact this way, we can connect this way, and it just, everyone agrees and handshakes the fact that, okay, you can expect, your LLM can expect that kind of outputs out of an action. When you build MCP by yourself, it has not much inside, and you can compare it with HTTP, for example. I like to do that comparison. Behind the scene, it's technology, right? It's not a whole revolution like AI, but it made it such an important brick for internet that nowadays every website that you use has HTTP in front of it and uses HTTP protocol. So yeah, I will resume it this way, I think.
So how does it differ from a traditional API connector or plugin system?
That's a good point. And actually, you could keep a traditional API to interact between your, let's say, LLM and Atlassian, as we mentioned earlier. The problem is that if you start to have different AI applications, let's say 10, and then you have 10 tools to interact with, one database, one API, one that is your local file system, then you need to build one integration between each component. So you build 100 integrations. And when you want to be efficient, you want a good time to market, you don't want to do that. Therefore, having a nice protocol that allows you to build one MCP in front of your tool that can interact with all kind of AI application, then yeah, perfect. You just have to build 10 of them rather than 100. That makes it so much easier and so much faster that nowadays when we want to produce better, faster, that's therefore the revolution is here.
So you mentioned an MCP server. So what are, besides the MCP server, other core components, and how do they interact?
Yeah. Basically, you will have one server that is the interface towards your tool. I will have a Atlassian server, MCP server. You will have a client, so it works with client and server. That is close to your AI application. So if you will have a cursor, which is a code assistant, or you will have your AI application, your LLM running, then you put your client there, and then both are going to interact together to get data or whatever else, take actions that you want to have around that. Yeah.
And you obviously have been building this at one of our customers for a private AI solution, but MCP does not just work with private AI solutions, right?
You can now, obviously, you can, as we said, it's USB-C to everything. So as soon as there is AI and there is an external source, then you can bring an MCP if it's relevant. There is private AI that makes it even more interesting. But for example, you can connect it to your public AI application. You bring your MCP towards cloud or ChatGPT or whatever else. That's already interesting. The interest around private AI is that you can really have control over your data, which is different than we sometimes talk about data residency, where you know where the data is, but the data sovereignty is way above, and even more in our context of European continent. Data sovereignty is the big thing, and with MCP you can really leverage that. You can have way more control about the context that is around your AI application, and therefore, I think it's going to be in the future one of the most important bricks to have MCP in your workloads.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And looking at the kind of the modern AI or enterprise architecture, where does MCP sit?
Let's say that you make an architecture. You have either one big orchestrator AI component, or even if you have agentic AI architecture with lots of little agents, a bit of a swarm. MCP is going to lay around that. If you take an orchestrator for your AI workload, it's going to integrate as a new component, a new bridge to access one sort of data. It knows its context. It can integrate to that specific tool, that database, the website, that again Atlassian, for example, and we'll be able to say to your AI application, if you want to do this or that, create a Jira ticket, get a big set of data from your database, I can do that for you. I propose those tools for you. And then your AI application, knowing that context, will, when it's relevant, hit that MCP, gets information that it needs, and make actually your AI application way more aware of what it can do with the real world, context aware, knowing what you can do, what you have available within your company. Because if we go back to the previous problem, like a AI model, LLM model, for example, it's frozen on time. It's been trained, and then we freeze the training. We take the model and we deliver it. Therefore, we had in the past, you could ask your LLM like, okay, who is my president? And it was answering like 2-3 years president before, and it was totally wrong. And it was surprising for people that it can be that good for some things and that's dumb for others. So it's frozen on time, LLM, and with MCP, then you can bring real-time data. You can bring as well, like take actions on behalf of the LLM, and that opens a whole new world in our workloads.
So, like you mentioned a couple of things that are really interesting, and especially one thing I definitely want to dive into. If you compare it to traditional API, like if you have an API, you configure like attributes, and those attributes are for that particular API are kind of the standard. How does that work with MCP? I mean, like you mentioned, creating a Jira ticket, but you can also create an MCP server for CRM systems or ERP systems like SAP or so how do you kind of define what the attributes are that your MCP server, your client and server communicate over?
Yeah, and that's the whole point of the protocol, right? We agreed on the fact that the output, the interface of the MCP towards the AI is set in stone. You will have 3 primitives in the MCP: tools, resources, and prompts. Prompts will be a template of how to use it, prompt template basically. Resources are data that you can access all the time, that your AI workload can read. And my favorite one, it's the tools primitive, because you say that little, I think it's Python case tool, like get SAP customers, or create SAP customers, or generate leads, whatever. Or you can create all kind of functions that you want. Behind the scene is going to interact the way you want, take the actions you want. That's the whole logic of behind the MCP server. But for the AI, it just knows that I have created a lead on MCP, or a lead on SAP, sorry. And it has a bit of a description to give context to the LLM, and that's it. No more, no less. The LLM just knows that, okay, I can create a lead with that. I'll just go for it if I need.
And this is, although always different for every type of system, the way you basically built this is the exact same, right?
Yeah. If I understand correctly, your question, indeed, you will have your framework that you can use out of Anthropic. It was provided by Anthropic, but today, as we record, yesterday it has been donated to the community. I think we have to talk about that. That's a great thing. But indeed, you can write your own servers. You don't need to consume other MCPs, and you will have that typical output. And behind the scenes, yeah, you just do the functions you need to show and serve what's behind your workload. And to go back to that topic about the donation from on topic, I see it a bit as Google and Kubernetes, giving Kubernetes to Linux Foundation and CNCF. That's a great thing. And I don't know if we realize, but so around the moment I adopted MCP, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, they all joined the idea of MCPs to contribute to it. It was open source. I'm not saying that I'm at that level of OpenAI or Google, but to contribute to it. And now it's been donated, so it's just to the community. Like all major tech companies just shaking their hands. Okay, we're gonna do that. We use the same protocol, the same standard, to be able to. Yeah,
let's
crazy.
explain it a bit more, because you mentioned the CNCF, you mentioned the Linux Foundation. So to give kind of a brief overview, the Linux Foundation is the foundation that maintains open source projects, right? And part of the Linux Foundation is the CNCF, so the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and they created a landscape of open source projects. Kubernetes is one of the most famous ones, I would say, but also projects like Prometheus, Harbor, like a container repository, and there are hundreds more are kind of created in a landscape, all categorized based on their core goal, like observability or security or networking or load balancing, stuff like that. And they also released something called the Agentic AI Foundation, which basically is a similar kind of structure, but for open source solutions tied to kind of an AI landscape. And MCP was donated by
Topic. Yeah.
Anthropic, as now kind of like they co-created it or kind of owned it, but now have donated it to the Linux Foundation as a true open source platform. And the thing you mentioned, like all of the big players also kind of supporting that. Like, why is this important?
In a world where all major tech companies compete to get the best, to get control of the market, where you see that competition of who's getting the best LLM. Every 2 weeks we get Google Gemini is back on the play, and then you have Opus 4.5 that comes and beats all the benchmarks. To see that they all agree on the fact, okay, we're going to connect our LLMs the same way towards the external world. I think that's nice first, and second, it's going to make things way easier.
Yeah, a lot easier. But not just to like we mentioned before, not just to connect those servers and those clients to your online, your hosted AI solutions, but also your on-prem, so your private AI solutions, and basically interact between them, but also easily switch from one to another. Like if you want to prototype in cloud and something works, you can easily reroute it, if you will, to your private AI solution as well, because we're using an open standard.
Yeah, exactly.
So so we now know what it is, how it works. Let's dive into your experience and your work at customers. So you've built custom MCP servers for a large enterprise. What were the goals and what did the architecture look like?
Yeah. So I like to do, as I say, the technology the good way. It starts from a need, right? We are developers. We were struggling with the fact that to find good documentation at the good place, to not reinvent the wheel, to talk with the good person that did it before. And we realized that it was a real burden in our company. It's the same in most companies. Um, so that was the big why. If you look at the golden circle from Simon Sinek, I like to make my products this way. That's the big why was about make your knowledge accessible. That was our goal. Then how you do that is we could went towards like talk to all the teams. You guys are going to do one only tool to do your documentation. Say on Azure DevOps or doing your README. But that doesn't work. People just do the documentation. If they do it the way they want. And when they write their code, they write it in the Git tool they want to use, right? So it was hard to just unify everyone, and we just felt like they just integrate with them. Whichever tool you use, whichever way you do your documentation, your knowledge, whatever, we will integrate with you. And then what it is, it's a AI chatbot. We consume the internal LLM. We use MCPs to integrate with all tools, Azure DevOps. I mentioned a few times Confluence. We integrate with ServiceNow, and you can imagine everything else that exists. Basically, all service can be integrated to gather in one central point all that knowledge. You can add RAG as well. It's not really the team, but it can be a good complementary with MCP. And just people go talk in the interface doesn't matter. We built a Slack chat. People just go in the chat, ask the questions, get the good links, the good info, the good code snippets, and then they're happy developers. We starting from that. That's one use case. But we saw so much value around those integrations. You can do everything else you want. You can take actions. Okay, trigger a pipeline when you solve a bug, or bring that application to solve bugs directly from the pipeline, your CI. Or we used OpenCode, which is a open source code assistant. If you compare with Cloud Code, for example, or the alternatives or Cursor. To plug our application and just help you develop, but everything internally, no data going outside of the company, and leveraging all the data of the company.
And so a couple of things happening right now. So so looking at the different types of end users of the platform, right? So you have your traditional end users, or your kind of your power users, right? So people creating documents or working on a CRM system or whatsoever, they can consume or they can use the chatbot in conjunction with MCP service to retrieve data from the CRM system.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also mentioned now developers being able to use open code to as a code assistant to build code, but they also consumed or used MCP to retrieve information then.
Yeah.
So but all of those individual end users use the platform in a different way, but also integrate into different aspects of the platform. So how does that fit into kind of the architecture that you designed or built, and where does it fit?
That's a great question, and we faced it. We were discussing for a few days. Do we make one main product, one main API that is our application that basically has the LLM as a central core thing, a few wrappers to make the interface available, like Slack or Teams chat or whatever else. And behind that, you have all the integration with the outside world, like MCP or RAG. That is the main application, and then you just decide the interface you want. If it's open code that consumes it, if it's your Slack chat, but we realized that they become different products. We tried long chain as well. That is a big artillery to use, but really strong. It's to explain a bit to our listeners. It's an orchestrator for your AI workloads, helping with agents, with MCPs, for example. And so we decided to slice those two as two different products, but the idea behind is exactly the same. You have one smart part, your core of the application. You have bridges to your services, and you have an interface in front of that just interacts with your users.
Right. And I can imagine that one of the challenges you're facing when having different consumption interfaces, different types of end users, different types of layers where people integrate, but also, yeah, a big enterprise, which makes it complex as well. How do you approach security, the permissions, auditing, data boundaries when it comes to the MCP environment?
Yeah, great question again. First, you change your credentials before before you go to test and production. And that's a big thing. And as we see, the protocol is still it's a year old, and we saw some security issues towards the protocol that have been patched. The protocol evolves and is being improved, but like every tool, if you use it the wrong way, it's dangerous. Even more when you plug it to a LLM that sometimes can hallucinate or do wrong things. With a MCP that can take actions on your behalf, that can be dangerous. That's one thing. So you could have prompt injection. You can have issues with the fact that as it's a gate to your data. What if someone else has access to your MCP? And then you were having a great idea to do private AI to just protect everything inside under the roof, but you just gave access to everyone at once to your data. So that's another aspect. And there is a nice proposition that is called the MCP gateway. To when you get to like mature use cases, mature companies that already leverage AI strongly, and I'm happy to see that on the market already. Then you start to have lots of MCP servers. But whatever, if I'm AI application A or B or C, I'm going to consume the same MCP server, right? So let's just put all of them behind a big MCP gateway. You can add your SSO, you can add reverse proxying, you can authorize or not some requests, and really work with it like you will work with the API gateway to protect your backend, your services, and stuff like that. So we see good things being produced, and we face the challenges every week. Because it's a community thing, then we all build together. So I'm happy about that.
Oh man, yeah, I fully understand. And the first thing that when you mentioned the story, the first thing that pops up is I was not part of this, but I did see the recording of it. There was an SE, and I won't mention the company, but he was in front of a big crowd, and he built a skill in Alexa based on voice recognition that could spin up a data center in his cloud. So he was in front of the stage. I think it was at some kind of user group. There was probably 40, 50 people there. And he said, okay, Alexa, please build my software-defined data center. And Alexa responded, okay, deleting your data center. And that was a virtual data center living somewhere at the hyperscaler, being used by the entire SE community. So multiple people were actually doing like customer demos there, but he didn't bake in kind of a failsafe. So you saw on a video, you saw the blood kind of dropping from his head while Alexa was actually deleting the entire software-defined data center. And Uh, well,
No,
long
no,
story short,
Alexa, abort.
yeah, I think he didn't sleep for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But this is especially what you mentioned around you like on if you would let an agent interact on your behalf without putting a great failsafe there, uh, you can end up with gazillion Jira tickets on your name, right? That's
Yeah.
probably how stuff works. No, but thanks for sharing it. And having such a gateway in front of MCP service totally makes sense. So, so you solved the challenge by building an MCP gateway. So, what were some of the other challenges or surprising parts of that you found out when implementing MCP at scale?
One would be reinventing the wheel. I hate to do that. I
Ah,
think um, we can be smart. I've been learning, at school engineering. So you discovered all languages with those basic 100 small exercises like ROT 13, encryption, little string management, whatever. So I've been learning to everything I want. Every time I have an idea, I build it myself, custom thing, and that's not the good way. Just if you have an ID, probably someone else had the same ID. So just look for, okay, did someone created it? In my company, for example, there was other teams that were using MCP or that could consume ours. But as well, when you want to write your own MCP server, maybe check because, for example, I integrated with Atlassian and a week later they released their own MCP, the official one. So yeah, you lose a bit of effort. That's not that dangerous, but just gain yourself some time by searching. That's one first thing. Second will be more a political thing. You can hear some in companies like, yeah, we need to do AI, or absolutely not. They just don't even know about AI.
do these companies still exist?
No, I'm looking
No.
for them. I'm still those
Yeah.
are shiny Pokemon. No, obviously we hear AI quite a lot, but the thing is, it's taken the wrong way. We want to provide the technical solution to no need. Just go back to, okay, what's the real need? Do you have a problem? Talk with your end users. Is it a developer? Is it a customer? And from that, then you bring the tools. And MCP is a good solution as a tool, but not the end thing, not the end solution. That's one first thing that I see a lot, and I tend to do the mistake myself as well. You're excited by a new thing, and you release in the same way we were with the MCP, and you just build something, but you have no one at the end of the of the phone call. So you have a fancy tool, but yeah, not used. I think
Yeah,
those
and
are the main challenges.
yeah, about the first thing you mentioned around, reinventing the wheel. So one thing that we mentioned earlier that MCP has been donated now to the Linux Foundation. So is there some kind of public repository, like your go-to place when it comes to looking for official MCP servers?
That's Google, write MCP and the name of your service.
Ah,
Now, indeed, there is a few registries that start to pop up. I never saw an official one, but indeed, if you type MCP registry, MCP directory, there's one, I forgot the exact name, I think, yeah, MCP directory, sort of. And you see all the community editions. That's really nice. And you see, I've seen a number that was above 10,000
wow.
MCP servers created by the community in less than a year. You imagine how active it is. That's really
Bizarre.
insane. I want to do a disclaimer though. If you have an MCP server that is the official server from a service, a tool, a SaaS, whatever, that's nice. Consume it. It's probably going to be better than you can produce. But if it's a community edition, another security aspect is that can be like they can have backdoors, or they can have like a rug pulling, a sneaky code snippet. So do a bit of your own due diligence if you decide to consume one, because you never know. And even more in our context, that is really critical most of the time when you bring AI, private AI. Do a bit of due diligence. You can always use AI even to read the code from the MCP, because it's mainly open source, and see, okay, is it good? Is it secure? Can I consume it in a good way? So yeah, I think we should be cautious about our consumption.
Yeah, and a great recommendation. I was just browsing to mcpmarket.com, and they claim to have tens of thousands of MCP servers available at their website. Don't know if it's entirely true, but I do see, like, when browsing now through most of the MCP servers, I see things for Chrome or Microsoft related solutions, GitHub, N8N. There's a ton of different servers, and I'll make sure to leave a link to the show notes to
Great.
to MCP Market.
So you often see the GitHub stars and things like that. You can really see if it's a good value.
If no, we're gonna dive into something else as well, because you are very enthusiastic about MCP, but you're enthusiastic about something else as well, because I know that earlier this year you flew to Geneva, I think, to Switzerland to attend a training on OpenShift AI and building pipelines, and building kind of GitOps or MLOps workflows to automate the process of getting AI solutions ready for production. So first of all, start with that. So I recorded an episode a couple of weeks ago with Robbie Jerem from Red Hat to already talk a bit through OpenShift AI, but like, what's your take on OpenShift AI?
It's good. It's really good. They found a sweet spot. I will elaborate, obviously, but they found a sweet spot where, it's really relevant for the market. This is what's needed. Little parenthesis, I took the train to go to Switzerland because I try to be conscious for our planet, but little. Now, the way they bring, so OpenShift obviously is going strong. That's a strong proposal to distributed Kubernetes. It's high in the stack, it's comfortable and ergonomic for the developers. So that's already a great offer. And on top of that, they provide AI tools and features by having OpenShift AI. Honestly, during the training, it was just easy and comfortable. You come as a developer, as a CTO, or whichever or other kind of workers of our industry. You have an idea, you want to bring value, you want to build fast. But imagine if you have to consume a public AI, or if you need to manage your servers by yourself. You need months before you start even to just have one valuable feature. And now you have that OpenShift AI proposition. You just, in a few minutes, hours, you can start your cluster. You start to POC, you start to create value. You can talk directly to your end users, your testers, and then you iterate, or you just kill the thing in the egg. But at least you got quickly value. And I think that they really did a good approach with OpenShift AI.
So let's tie MCP into this as well. So how does MCP integrate into OpenShift AI, specifically, for instance, looking at workflows? Model serving, pipelines, reg workflows, etc.
Yeah. You will have, with OpenShift AI, you will have your cluster, right, where you can have your AI workload. You will have your MLOps able to have like decent operations to deploy your workloads with ML pipelines, evaluations. Evaluation is the way to test in AI. You will have your kubeflows or whichever tool or Argo CD that you use. MCP will first come as a brick of your application. You will have your orchestrator. Let's say if you want to go to open source, then you will have Olama. There is LangChain that is a bit of an equivalent. It's going to really manage all your resources, which can be LLM agents, which can be MCP tools, which can be RAG. That is going to be your big architecture. So MCP can integrate inside of your application. And then we can also imagine that if you want, you can have a OpenShift AI MCP that from your, let's say, cloud code, you can say, okay, start my my production or staging deployment inside of OpenShift AI. And then you just loop again with MCP. I think it's the way I see and how I integrate it inside of the whole big picture.
Awesome. So we talked about different types of end users, different types of platforms that you can integrate with. In this case, we're talking about kind of an AI orchestration platform or development platform that we can tie into. I can imagine that listeners might want to dive into it as well. So how does a team or how does an organization wanting to adopt MCP kind of start small, and what does that realistically look like?
Yeah, great question. Before seeing the whole big artillery and trying to make an enormous application, just start small, poke. You can consume MCP inside of Cursor. There is really easy way. You find a good MCP server, you run it as a container. It's already containerized mainly. You integrate a small code snippet inside of Cursor, and then you already have a smarter AI inside of your code assistant. You can integrate to your public LLM. There is one MCP that I really like and I recommend people to try first. It's Context 7. You will be able to share a link, and it's a big documentation library of all main technologies about Next.js, about probably OpenShift as well. And people just post their documentation. MCP makes it available for the AI. It made my AI so much smarter. It just consumes Context 7. It gets like real-time documentation. And that's one first thing that I definitely recommend. So you can integrate to your daily development, or even if you consume AI with just asking for your groceries, then maybe add I don't know, your Jumbo, if you're in the Netherlands, the Jumbo MCP to know the best prices at every moment. But start
Do they
small.
have an MCP server?
I have no clue, but that's something we need to build if they don't have.
I think this is a very interesting point, because do you think that as consumers of such a platform, and I, for instance, I do my groceries at Picnic. They're a delivery service with a great app, and what I do now is, for instance, I talk to Google lists on my Google Home system, and basically tell Google to add some kind of thing to my grocery list. But how awesome would it be if I would say that it automatically ends up in my shopping list in the Picnic account? Do you think MCP is a platform that we would use for that in the future as well?
Definitely. It's the interface to the world. So every time that your AI needs to interact with real world, then you need MCP. So yeah, definitely. That's a great use case. I have another one for you. You're an athlete, Johan, right? You're a great sportive person. Don't be modest. I've seen you. Yeah,
High Rocks quite
I've seen
recently.
you're a great athlete. You impress me. Take that use case. So I'm training for High Rocks as well. I play for the national team, and I need to reach a certain level of performances. And let's forget about the tech side of it. I'm a random dude just trying to perform, right? Imagine that you can get a personal assistant that is your dietitian, your coach, that recommends you how to train or how to rest a bit more, gives you the best advices. But I don't want to share my health data, right? I don't want that the internet knows that I have a shit heart, or that my cardio is awful. You want a bit of privacy around that, right? what if on your phone you have your own little LLM that is really tailored for you, that use case? You don't need a big model that knows everything. It just knows what to do in that context. You get MCP integration with your health data, with your coach application, whatever. What else do you want? With your shop to buy your proteins or whatever else. And you have one small assistant for free that is fully private because it's on your phone. And I found that amazing. I had a chat with a little shoot out to Hugo, my friend. I did a Hyrox with him. He proposed that. I find it so smart. And you can apply it to all kinds of use cases. Every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, that would be nice. I have a new idea, but MCP offers the integration. And from that, you can just build everything you want.
Wow. Yeah, I think another great use case you mentioned. I use Whoop. This is kind of for the people watching. This is a Whoop. That's basically a fitness tracker on steroids. And since a year or so, the Whoop app now also has an AI assistant. And I actually use the AI assistant to prepare for the last Hyrox I did. And since it already knows everything about my cardio, it's easy for the Whoop. So it also kind of knows how I slept, right? So I wear this 24/7. So based on my recovery, it suggested on a day-to-day basis a training plan, but I also tied my scale into it. So it knows now my weight and it knows my my body composition. So also based on that, it saw, oh, your based on the last 6 months, I see you're kind of losing weight, but you're also reducing your visceral fat, stuff like that. So you're becoming healthy. And at the other hand, it sees that my VO2 max is increasing. So based on all of that real-time information, it suggests a different training plan, but it's still kind of a point solution, right? And this is what you mentioned totally makes sense. If you have that local LLM, that tiny LLM, so probably a tiny language model, TLM, can we coin it here?
Yeah, nice. You need to patent it.
Have that on your phone and or on a device, and let it constantly sync your own context in a way that makes sense to whatever goal you try to achieve. I think that's brilliant. So are you going to build this right now?
I think I need, because yeah, definitely.
You were in search for a new hobby, right? So
definitely.
You just mentioned you played for the Dutch national rugby, touch rugby team, right? You're training for Hyrox.
Yeah, spare time NGO.
Yeah, spare time NGO. And
I have too much time in my life, so I was looking for another home lab activity anyway. So.
Oh man. Still, one thing I want to touch upon before we dive into experiment number 3 is you mentioned the NGO. So that's called Team for a Planet, Team for the Planet. And how did you take learnings or your experience from, let's say, the last 12 months into kind of value you can add to the NGO as well?
Yeah, Team for a Planet is one that you can just take shares of it. That's another one. Mine is Waldians, and that helps me a lot, definitely, in the fact that you have short time, because it's a spare time activity. You have short time to work on it. You need to be efficient and bring value as fast as you can. And it's another kind of context because you don't need to be is outside of the capitalism view where you need to make money or compete with others. You just want to work together with others. So that's nice. You can collaborate, but still you need to be as productive as you can. And therefore you need to go towards the people and check with them. Okay, what do you need? How can I help you? And it really teach me how to build a product that has an impact. It comes from the need. And then you bring your solutions, rather than me being the techos guy that's like, oh, I have a great technology I want to bring on the table. That definitely is the main learning, yeah. And how to federate. I think the second one will be federate people around one goal, because all are volunteers. So if you don't pay someone, it's directly harder to make people be productive and efficient. But behind a good meaning and a good purpose, everyone can, be amazing.
In short, what does Wildion do?
So our NGO, we promote sustainability. Our vision is to make society a bit more responsible. How we do that is by teaching a bit people, but lots of you can see lots of content already on social networks or stuff like that. Our value is about helping people to build sustainable habits. How we do that is nowadays the best way to do that is an application. You have it every day with you. So we just make people open every day that application in the same way you would have Duolingo for learning languages. Or another one I like to use was Fabulous for like self-development. Wildians, our NGO, helps people with sustainability, sustainable habits, step by step, little steps to become a better person every day.
Awesome. I'll link. I'll add a link to the show notes to Julian as well. Definitely a great cause and one I'll follow as well. So let's wrap up experiment number 2 and dive into experiment number 3. So let's kind of recap what we learned today. First of all, and I'll go first if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I am extremely surprised and happily surprised, I would say, about the development that the model context protocol has been going through. Like the world of AI is constantly changing. Innovations are popping up as we speak. You mentioned like the number of models that rise or that pop up on a day-to-day basis is, I think roughly half a year ago there was around 1 million models on Hugging Face, and I think it completely doubled right now as of today as well. So that just shows the development and the fact that MCP is kind of the rising star when it comes to AI. I think is definitely one of my key takeaways. And the fact that Anthropic has donated it to the Linux Foundation shows there's another de facto standard kind of coming up. What about you?
If I want people to go back out of that podcast, let me take 3 key takeaways. First, I join you, definitely. That's amazing. Just the market thing that has been donated. It's a major change in terms of AI consumption. So really happy to see that. Second, I would say like how you see MCP. It brings lots of value to your AI workloads because it makes your LLM be smarter, more context aware. They can take actions. Like if you see RAG, which is a augmented generation, retrieval augmented generation, and MCP, sometimes they can be compared. No, they work together. RAG is your memory, and MCP is your eyes and hands. It can take actions, it can get data. That's one thing. And even brings economical value because it reduces your token consumptions, it reduces your development time, it makes your AI consumption way smaller. That's one thing. And then I think the last stuff is there's a nice trend about context ownership, where people are afraid legitimately of where is my data, who is the legal owner of my data. When you have LLM, there is an input and output. It makes the context. Where does that go? Is it used to train next model? But now you can bring everything inside of private AI, use a LLM on your infrastructure, use MCP to access your data. You're fully owner of your context, and that makes it amazing. And nowadays, you mentioned Hugging Face. You can have a really decent LLM. You don't have to sacrifice features or efficiency for privacy. Now you can have like a really nice AI workload. Yeah, I think I will resume with that.
I think a great recap and definitely a couple of really great takeaways. Um, I have one final question before I let you go. And from now on, I'm going to call it the I told you so moment. So hypothetically, if I would invite you over in a year from now, or we'll bump into each other in a year from now, we'll probably bump into each other a lot more. But I'd like to kind of get a prediction from you. So when it comes to MCP, what's the most exciting MCP use case you expect to see in the next year? Ooh, it's
I
quiet.
would say that that's a great question. I have a few ideas. I want to find the best one. I think the taking action part is the best one. Imagine as a platform engineer, you sometimes have to trigger things, start, repair pipelines, or build new services. Have your MCP targeting a specific solution, let's say your Git, GitLab, Azure DevOps, whatever, that takes action for you. And just from your own code assistant or a standalone AI application that triggers pipeline, fixes things for you, you're in production, you have millions of customers and really critical application in the banking system. Your AI application can patch your workload when there is a failure because it has a smart LLM and it's integrated to your infrastructure. So I would say taking actions is going to become way more interesting and developed in the next year.
Awesome. Looking forward to that, to be fairly honest.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, Maxime, thanks so much for being a guest on the show. If people want to follow you or your work, what should they do?
They can definitely follow me on LinkedIn, Maxime Colomès. They can follow our NGO page, Valiant, and definitely follow RTQ because we are taking a nice approach around private AI. I think there's nice things incoming.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in to the Private AI Lab. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and visit johan.ml for more insights and experiments. Experiment complete. Until the next one, stay curious.
Private AI Lab.